Creativity for me means finding a solution, looking at something from a different perspective and communicating that idea to an audience. During the pandemic, I've been exploring painting with acrylic, and I've been exploring digital technologies. I started to explore concepts such as surrealism, and I started to experiment with how I could incorporate this in old and new work. So the pandemic has definitely challenged me to think about different ways that I can present my ideas and my artwork. Creativity will teach you a lot of patience. Things take time, processes take time, and not everything that you're working on will go the way that you want it to. You won't always execute an idea how you thought, and you may work on something and you'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna leave this here. But you may also find that you produce one of your best work at a time, or something amazing that you never thought you could put together. So it's a big learning tool, I think, to teach patience, to really teach a mindset that is solution-based and growth-focused. And that's been very useful for me to keep motivated. It also teaches you to be flexible, adapt to what resources you have. Over time, you can see that everything you do, no matter how small or big, has a contribution to your knowledge, your skills, and the overall vision that you have for yourself as an artist. By exploring different ways to showcase my art, I've also been able to think about how it can act as a form of care for others. And I've really been thinking about what value can I provide in my art. And I guess because it started off for me as exploring my personal experiences of mental health and trauma, I've found that as I've been able to develop my skills and I've been able to share this with others, it's also been a way to provoke that thought and provoke that process. And I guess in that sense it can be quite healing for me and also for those engaging with it. So at one point I made these really small squares, and they had like all these different shapes in the squares, and I painted them different colors. And I was able to sell a few of these pieces. As I posted them out in an envelope, I put a small poem in each of the pieces. And for me, that was a way to just further connect. I've been able to explore complex themes in my work, such as identity, trauma, violence. And I think for me, it's a really great way to articulate how I'm feeling before I even know how to put this into words. And so it's a great way for me to process my emotions. Even though creativity has helped to keep me motivated, it's also been quite discouraging at times because you don't really know where to go with what you're creating. There's not that many paid opportunities. The industry's been very hardly hit. It's already a very competitive space. So it can often feel that if you don't have enough exposure on social media or the right contacts and connections, that your art is not necessarily gonna get to the places that you want it to. I've learned a lot over this pandemic, and I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunity to explore my art, to explore my creativity, and to really understand how that helps me to process emotions and how that can be a positive tool for my well-being. Although it's been challenging, I am hopeful as restrictions ease, as things start to pick up pace, that London's creative space will really have a renewed energy. There's always hope, and I think eventually and already people are seeing the importance in creativity. Together we can rearrange the lines, restructure the spaces that we despise, to resemble warm colours that make us burst of love and peace, that make us feel at ease. We can come together and say at least we have one another, like shapes huddled in a square.